Hello, everybody. Welcome back to episode number 15 of the Fantasy Cast. I'm Lachlan McTagg, joined with Ty White, as per usual. Ty, your background's a little different today, for those of you who can see. What's up with you?
Yeah, I've only had this background for one other episode, I think. I'm at home. I just got off for the Christmas break. Could not be happier. Finished exams and all that, so I don't have to come home prepare for something online. I'm all good. I got home and this sweet shirt popped up. Actually, shout out to my mom. She actually printed this. I designed it though. It's a little Christmas Herbert thing. You got a Rudolph over here. I mean, it's pretty sexy around the holidays. You got that's all you need. So I'm doing very well. Chargers won, big game. We're going to talk about that. I know we're going to talk about that a little bit throughout this episode. But I'm doing well right now and excited. How about you, man? How are you?
Yeah, it's been an interesting little time here this last week since we've chatted. First off, congrats on finishing the first semester. That's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good looks. So since we had a game last Wednesday against one of the top teams in our division, we actually beat them.
No way.
It was a road game. We went in there, we beat them. It's a big win. And then Saturday we had a game, and we won in overtime there. So I was really hyped.
Two big wins.
Yeah, we had an overtime win. Sunday, then we were playing the other best team in our league, which is the far. I don't know. Comparing them to the team we played Wednesday, it's like night and day. They're a far better team than them. And we came out on the losing end on Sunday. We went up to New Hampshire to play them, so it's unfortunate there. I also got knocked out of the fantasy football playoffs in our league. So
that's I was never in that. So at least
I had to represent the boys, and I fell short after the first round, which sucks. Really hate to lose and get knocked out this early. Was not the plan. And then NFL, the Falcons won, which I was kind of surprised about. That's a monster win. And then this upcoming week is massive for the Falcons.
Yeah.
We'll get into that a bit later, but then the friggin' Bills, man, 7-6. But I will say this, they lost, but they came back.
It was a good game.
Dude, they clawed their way back. Unfortunately, I was playing a game and then driving home from New Hampshire, so I didn't really catch much of it.
But for those who watched it, that was awesome. The fact they came back and then Brady just ends them like that, snaps his fingers like Thanos, and the thing's over.
Yeah.
I mean, poor Bills. It's tough, but Carolina next week, and you guys just beat them. So hopefully they can do that.
The only there was a couple takeaways from that game that were really promising. One, Josh Allen, fantastic down the stretch in that game.
Yeah.
Decision making was really, really good.
Yeah.
Cole Beasley, another one. Devin Singletary, too.
One of his first good fantasy games of the year.
And even fantasy aside, he looked like a 2017, 2018 version of himself, right?
Yeah.
Which, you love to see. I mean, as much as we love Zach Moss in Buffalo, Singletary was kind of always meant to be the lead back.
Yeah.
And going forward, these are monster games for the Bills. Luckily, their schedule is a bit easier.
With the exception of a New England game in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah. They do have a good chance if they can beat New England of winning out, which is wonderful.
Yeah, if they beat New England and win out, that's what, 4 game
win streak, 3-game win, 4-game win streak. I think it's 4.
Yeah.
Finish 11.
I believe they play the Panthers, the Falcons,
the Jets,
the Pats, and then the Jets.
Yeah.
So
4 winnable games.
Yeah.
Yeah. And New England's coming off a bye. No one knows what's gonna happen there.
Literally the worst week to have a bye week for New England. We said that last week. All right, enough talk here. We should get into the episode. And we're going to get into the episode by revisiting our starts and sits as always. And guys, this is ugly. This is ugly.
I want to turn off my camera for this. That's
Yeah,
okay.
no. So we're gonna start with with our starts, and we have one exception in here. Jamal Williams versus Denver. We told you to start him. He was placed in the NFL health and safety protocols leading up to that game. After we recorded, nothing we could do about that.
No.
So that's just a no decision. It's an X. Didn't count his name in there.
You could have started Igwe, and he would have got you 0.5 points, I think it was. But
very good. That's actually really good on the pronunciation, by the way.
I think that's how you say it, because I've heard that
was
before.
Good.
There's that one game where he had like a 40-yard touchdown. I was like, who the hell is this guy? Igwe. His dad played in the league, but yeah, I think that's his name.
Yeah. Shall we kick off, if you will, with the starts?
Sure. So this is I'm so kind of you, because this is the only bright spot of our starts and sits list. Jamal Williams was the first one against Detroit. Felt pretty comfortable about that. And you put up 21.3. Yep. Very nice game. Solid prediction. Nice game. There we go.
Next one, we had you starting Jalen Guyton versus the Giants. And holy smokes, were we right about that one? Jalen Guyton had a nice 17.7 point performance, doing us some good. He caught an absolute nuke from Justin Herbert. And funny, I actually mentioned, Guyton being a deep threat, and then he goes and catches a 60 yard bomb from Herbert touchdown.
Yes. You called it so right, Loch. Your prediction last week was spot on. It was our clip on Instagram too. I loved it. Yeah. One of my favorite clips of the year so far. And that was just so satisfying to see, because Herbert has, even though this year he's still great on the deep ball, he is the most over 20-yard passes completed in the NFL, and it's not close, I think, at this point. But last year he had at least 4 or 5 50-yard bombs, maybe 2 or 3 of them were to Guyton. And this year you haven't seen that as much, just because the play calling. And I was so happy to see that. And I talked to you before the show, kind of a little biased, of course, but mostly unbiased. That was one of the greatest throws I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so exciting right at the end of the first half, on the move as he's getting hit. And literally, I think it recorded as a 59-yard pass that was thrown at least 65 yards in the air. How the hell did he do that? It was one of the greatest throws I've ever
seen. Up there with the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary in Detroit.
Yeah. I heard someone talk there's only 3 or 4 players on planet Earth that can make that throw, and Herbert's one of them. The other are Mahomes, Rodgers, and maybe Josh Allen. But other than that, no one can make that throw. I was so impressed. Amazing. Let's go to the last one. Also in the AFC West. First, we have AJ Dillon. Actually, we told you to start. This is the first time we were ever wrong about AJ Dillon, actually.
Yeah.
Versus Chicago. That was a crazy game, too. Sunday Night Football. Chicago had the lead for a bit, and then I expected them to blow it, and they did. AJ Dillon only got 7.1. Not too far off, but not his best game by any means.
Not by recent standards. Last one, we told you to start Hunter Renfrow versus Kansas City. Holy smokes.
Very happy about this.
Did Hunter Renfrow ever look silky in that game, man?
Yeah.
Put up 28.7 points. Wow.
Yeah. Hopefully the Raiders also learned a lesson not to stand on the Chiefs logo before the game.
Yeah.
Because they got blown out, but Renfrow looked nice. One of the up and coming receivers.
How many points the Raiders put up? What they put up?
I think it was 10. It must have been less than around 10 or 13.
Yeah. And Renfrow puts up 28.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. That's unheard of.
Amazing.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have to tell you the sits. So we went 3-4 in starts, and you're thinking, well, how is this so bad? Well, just wait.
just wait.
There's a big storm coming here.
You ain't heard Lachlan. I don't want to read these, but let's just go quick fire. Mike Evans versus Buffalo. He put up 21.
Jamar Chase versus San Francisco. He put up 25.
Yep. Skip over that one. Dawson Knox versus Tampa Bay, 19.
James Conner versus the Los Angeles Rams, 33.
Brandon Ayuk versus Cincinnati, 18.6. So 3 of those we got brutally wrong. 2 of them, Dawson Knox, late points. Scrappy points against that Tampa Bay game, although it does count, of course.
He was a big part of that comeback as well, though.
Yeah, for sure.
He started to find his way in that game, but still, the projections early in the game were not looking good for Knox or the Bills for that matter.
Yeah, and we were looking good for the first part because what we said would happen was happening until it completely changed. And then Brandon Ayuk had 18, but his last he got a scrappy touchdown at the end of the game that actually won Cincinnati the game in overtime, but that significantly helped his fantasy performance. So this was the first ever time we went 0 for 5 in any category, actually.
Yeah, not our finest, not our proudest moment there, I will say. But
definitely, like, these were the boldest starts we've ever had.
Oh, by far.
Kind of lazy doing that. We're not doing that again. However, like, we learned our lesson there for sure. Well, I mean, we're still kind of new to this. Give us a break. But, one of our worst performances of the year. That being said, we've had some great ones too. So hopefully we can come back and have a great one this week.
Yep. Let's fire through these quick here. Big weeks starting at quarterback. Josh Allen had 36. Brady had 30. Two played in the same game, both balled out. Wow. Rodgers had 29. Taysom Hill, dude, how does this guy keep coming up in our big weeks? He had 27, and Roethlisberger, oh my God, he had 25.
Yeah, that was a crazy game. It was a Thursday night game. It was a pretty good one, actually. And Chase Claypool celebrating a first down.
Dude,
that team is their wide receivers are cursed.
Dude, the clock is still running, man.
And he tried to blame don't get me wrong, I like Chase Claypool a lot.
He's a great guy, man. I like that guy. He's a good Canadian kid. He's done a lot of good.
Yeah, Mapletron, you gotta love a swagger, but I mean, he's gotta mature. You can't be playing music at practice. Mike Tomlin was pissed. They asked Cameron Hayward about it too, and he's like, I hope he was joking, because I was about to slap him across the face. And then Mike Tomlin obviously not happy. No, I mean, it was just disappointing. And he tried to blame it on the center at the end of the game for like taking I don't know. That was not totally his fault, but still can't be doing that. Wide receivers. Devontae Adams at 34 on Sunday Night Football. Great. Cooper Kupp 31. Kupp's incredible. We know that. Hunter Renfrow 28. Very happy about that. Tyler Lockett 27. He caught a deep bomb as well against Houston. No surprise. Yeah. I mean, come on now. It's Houston. And then Jamar Chase, 25. And we told you to sit. Okay. Let's go.
Yeah. Go to running backs. There's some big numbers being put up here. Dalvin Cook had 35. He just looked like a monster on Thursday Night Football. James Conner, another one of our sits. 33. James Conner was like a legitimate receiver. Out there.
Oh my gosh. No,
he was running like he was running some like legitimate routes too.
Yeah.
Not something you see out of your average running back.
No, exactly. And they mentioned that like in the game with the broadcast they were talking about how in Pittsburgh, it was mainly like a ground and pound team. They didn't really give him the opportunity to become a receiving back. And now he's like this stud, and they just completely used him wrong in Pittsburgh, as we can see. Like last year, bottom 15 running back. This year, in my opinion, easy top 15 running back.
Yeah, I mean, Edmonds was supposed to be active for that game, but he's for sure going to be activated this week. I'd be shocked. There'd be something seriously wrong if he was not activated this week.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that tandem works in the backfield going forward. But the next name here, Rashad Penny. Wow.
I haven't heard that name
all year. I've not said that name in quite a long time. He had 26.
Yeah.
Najee Harris had 25, and Alvin Kamara had 24.
Yeah, like you said, great week for running backs. No one below 24. Pretty good. Tight ends, George Kittle, 34.10. We are going to be talking about that later, so I won't get too into it right now. Mark Andrews at 28. Dawson Knox at 19. Okay, bear with me here. This is a Denver tight end. Albert Okwuegbunam. That was totally wrong. Okwuegbunam. We're just going to leave it at that. He had 15. Austin Hooper had 14. It's nice to see Austin Hooper catch a touchdown now and then. That was quite interesting, actually, that Cleveland game. And Lamar went out against Cleveland, not because he had a case of the pooper scoopers this time, but it was something else.
Oh, my God. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Lamar Hunt, or I think, what's his name? Huntley came in. What's his first name? I just completely forgot it. I like calling him Lamar Hunt. No, man. But it's funny, though, because if you look and just like body stature and stuff too, if you like squint your eyes, you could not tell the difference between who's taking the snap between Huntley and Jackson. They look almost identical when they're and the way they.
You're actually not wrong.
Yeah, like their helmet and like they both single digit numbers. I mean, it's just kind of it's kind of weird when they're out there because sometimes it's like, is that Lamar? But you never can tell until you see his number. But yeah, Austin Hooper there as well in that game. Let's go defense, special teams.
Yeah, Kansas City's defense, they've been holding down the fort lately.
Yeah.
They've been
Improved.
playing a lot better football in the defensive end. They had 24.
Very improved.
Dallas had 22. Tennessee's defense doing well. What? Psych, it was against the Jags.
Whoops.
They had 21.
Yes, they did indeed. We're going on a waiver wires right now. One carryover from the last week, but it's because I feel it's pretty decent recent. Jalen Guyton, obviously Chargers, 15% rostered, 18-17 in his last two. Starting to get the ball more, starting to be trusted more in the offense, given the fact that you have to keep in mind, though, that Keenan Allen was out last week. However, I believe he's back this week or anticipated to be back this week. That's actually the Thursday night game versus the Chiefs.
It might be a bit of a tight timeline for Keenan, though.
Yeah, no, for sure.
A quick turnaround.
Yeah,
for sure. I would say monitor that situation as I guess tonight and tomorrow go on, because Jalen Guyton would be a good option, especially if the timeline is a bit too tight for Keenan Allen to return.
Yeah. And for sure, you're looking at deep ball that game as well. It's in SoFi Stadium also, and I'm looking forward to that game. I'm cautiously optimistic. It's for first place in the AFC West, potentially decides the division. If the Chargers win, they jump into first. If they lose, they stay in second. And the same vice versa with the Chiefs. So big game there. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah, next name on the waiver wire list, Rashad Penny. Obviously, he had 26 last week. And there's a feeling that the Seahawks offense has kind of found something in Penny. And obviously, with a 26-point performance, you think, well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
But there seems to be a bit of a renewed sense of optimism with the Seattle running game with Rashad Penny. So look for him to be, again, taking the lead in that backfield going forward, because Seattle's in a bit of a spot where they don't have a lot to lose. And that's a little bit dangerous considering the offensive weapons that they have. No, seriously,
it's true though.
Seattle doesn't really have a lot to lose right now. So if they just say screw it, you
might see a lot more of Rashad Penny. And you actually had, because you're like, as you kind of are implying, they're like looking forward, trying new things, especially going into the next season. Rashad Penny could be a pretty cheap back. They can renew his contract, and he's said to be the number one back. Actually, they just asked Pete Carroll that, I'm pretty sure, and he said he was the number one back as of right now. Very well put on your part, Loch. So yes, Rashad Penny. Last one is Justin Fields, someone else we haven't really said his name too much this year. Only 19% rostered, and he had 20 points in his last game. Pretty impressive against Green Bay, one of the best defenses in the National Football League, one of the best teams in the National Football League. But if you actually look at it, Justin Fields' remaining schedule, especially with how they're going to, like, they technically they're still in the hunt for a playoff spot, but not really. It's kind of far-fetched at this point. So they're kind of in the same boat in Seattle as they want to try new things. And this is a rookie QB. Let this guy work. He's got Minnesota, who have a very sporadically good and bad defense. They have Seattle, bad defense, and they have the Giants, who have been on and off. They just got lit up by the Chargers and kind of exposed defensively there. So they're sporadically good as well, kind of like Minnesota there. So very winnable games, but not just that, very likely that he can have good games against these defenses that he's going to play in the coming weeks.
Also, I feel like Matt Nagy is also going to just pull things out of his rear end, considering like he's gonna get fired the day after.
On the hot seat.
Yeah, like if he stays around in Chicago, I'd be shocked to be quite honest. Like, yeah, he's
not a bad coach, but he's
not a bad coach.
They need to change.
Exactly. It's unfortunate, but it's the way things are sometimes. Shall we move on to the starts and sits, Ty? We are flying right now. We are flying through.
We're flying, and we hopefully are going to change the book on what happened from last week. These starts and sits.
We've made a little bit more of educated guesses this week.
For sure. So let's go. Actually, why not you start off first?
Yeah. starting off with our starts list, we are telling you to start Dawson Knox versus Carolina. In his last four, Knox has 14, 18, 3, and 19. Apart from that 3-point performance, fairly solid. He's been a very, very solid option for the Buffalo Bills this season.
Yeah.
And him and Josh Allen have really found a good connection.
Yeah.
As well, this is a must win game for Buffalo, or else they risk going to 7-7. Yeah. I can't even. Saying the Bills might be 7-7 is just absurd at this point.
I agree.
So a very, very big game, and look for all the stars to come out and shine in Buffalo.
I really hope they do. Tyler Higbee versus Seattle, 2 tight ends in a row. Higbee was actually out last week because he was on that health and safety protocol list as well. But he's back in lineup. He's effective when that offense is rolling. As we mentioned previous episodes, they like using him in the screen game. Sometimes he can be a pretty good end zone threat because he plays in the slot or lines up on the line of scrimmage there. Beside like the offensive lineman. So he's a good option, especially against Seattle of a weak defense. And I mean, these are pretty much, you're fighting for that top spot, especially because you just beat the Cardinals in the NFC. And this is very much the Rams' spot for the taking. And Tyler Higbee is a vital focal point in that offense when they are rolling right beside Tyler Higbee.
They're also, I feel like the Rams are also, the Rams are also in a place now where I feel like they need to go on a bit of a streak before the playoffs start, just to kind of get their legs back under them after losing 3 in a row, because that was a bit of a shot to their confidence, obviously.
For sure.
Our next start, Russell Wilson versus the Rams.
Dangerous.
Yeah, he's been playing a little bit better. 19, 17, and 21 in his last 3.
Yeah.
Starting to pick things up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And this is something we don't necessarily anticipate. Like, as you've seen from a big weeks list, like you have Taysom Hill on there, you've had Trevor Siemian on there. I mean, we had Josh Allen there, who didn't for the first part of the game, he did not have a great game against Tampa Bay until he picked it up. So we're not necessarily saying they're going to contend to win. However, we do expect a couple touchdowns, maybe some rushing yards, something that will get him over that 15-point threshold to start Russell Wilson. Robbie Anderson versus Buffalo. This is one that I actually like, a bit of a more unique one. I think, he's great when he gets over 6 targets. He had 21 last week against Atlanta. Buffalo's defense has been a little bit more questionable lately. That being said, I don't think they're going to have I think they're going to have a pretty good game, Buffalo's defense. However, this is a game where, Cam has not won a game for the Panthers in 11 weeks or in 11 games of football.
Cam is back.
Yeah. Cam is bad. He's struggling, but when they get Robbie Anderson that ball, maybe something in like scrappy time, we mentioned they have nothing really to lose. I think Robbie Anderson is going to get that in fantasy football.
Also, since Cam Newton's signed with the Panthers again, Robbie Anderson's kind of seen a bit of a revitalization.
Yeah, he hated Sam Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
He did not like Sam Darnold. That's a very good point. Yeah. A bit more of a
last start on our list here is Brandon Cooks versus Jacksonville. Why? Well, first of all, this is a garbage game.
Yeah.
Unless you are a fan of these two teams, you should not be watching this game.
Nope.
Plain and simple. Respect, all the respect in the world to both fan bases, though.
But
obviously.
Lachlan, isn't that the beauty of fantasy football? That it forces you to watch this, because now people are in fantasy playoffs. If people are going to be watching this for Brandon Cooks and for like Marvin Jones or something like that, like that's the only reason you really watch these games. James, yeah, exactly. But yeah, totally right. I'm sorry.
18, 8, and 13 in his last 3. And Jacksonville, again, their defense just isn't that good. So who knows with Brandon Cooks? Who knows?
Yeah, good point. Coming up next for our sits, starting our sits there here is Chuba Hubbard versus Buffalo. This is a Buffalo must-win game, as we mentioned before.
Big game.
Carolina is struggling offensively. Hubbard is struggling, actually. He hasn't had a 10-point game or 10-point or above game, double-digit game in fantasy football in over 6 weeks. That's over a month in fantasy football. He's been just a little bit rough lately. He scored a touchdown last game, but like it was kind of, it was an option play. It was a read option by Cam, and he handed it off. So that one was I mean, I like Chuba, but against Buffalo at home, must win. I think they're going to find a way to shut him down.
Also, I feel like if there's going to be the majority of rushing yards in the game, it's going to be done by Cam Newton.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I don't know. And sorry, is it Tyler Boyd? That is.
It is Tyler Boyd.
It is Tyler Boyd. So we're telling you to sit Tyler Boyd versus Denver. Why? Because Denver's defense, specifically their secondary, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
yeah, you don't like that. But yeah, sit Boyd against a pretty solid Denver secondary. I think this is a bit of a safer bet.
It should be a good game. I mean, I expect Jamar Chase to do very well. Joe Mixon on the ground should do pretty well. But yeah, I think this is a game where Boyd might just
get lost in the mix a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and he's sporadically good player. Like like 10 points and 3 points. So kind of I don't know, just hard to predict. But this one we say would be a sit. Especially because Denver needs to start winning games as well if they want a chance.
So does Cincinnati, though.
Yeah, both teams do. Yeah, but that defense.
This is a big game for both teams.
Yeah, Battle of the Orange should be pretty cool. This one pains me to say. It pains you to say as well, Lachlan. Kyle Pitts versus San Francisco. Kyle Pitts is actually someone I sat last week in place of Pat Freiermuth. They both put up the same amount of points, actually, so it wasn't that big of a deal in the end. But this is a San Francisco must-win game. They have a solid defense in San Francisco, a great pass rush as well. And we've seen in the past that Matt Ryan, as well as the Falcons, have struggled against great defenses and a good pass rush. San Francisco is hot right now. Big win against Cincinnati last week. And we feel that Kyle Pitts, he's just not getting the targets as much. It's Russell Gage that's getting them, actually.
Yep.
He's been
Cordell.
Yeah, Cordell, of course, Cordell. And, Mike Davis starting to see more touches as well. So it's unfortunate. He's just getting lost in the mix this year. I really hope next year they come back firing.
He'll find his way.
For sure. The talent is there. It's just the offensive scheme needs to be different for him.
Yeah. Though I think they're going to be figuring some stuff out, honestly, and this leads perfectly into our next sit because it's Matt Ryan again against the 49ers. This is a massive game for the Falcons, but it's also a road game in San Francisco.
San Fran's good at home.
And San Fran's good at home, and San Fran is just flat out a better football team than Atlanta right now.
That's just the truth.
I'm gonna be real. Like that's and I mean, if you like talk about the 49ers, Debo leading in touches and receptions, like that guy's nuts.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that the Niners pass rush again, Falcons O-line isn't great. And Matt Ryan struggled against good pass rushes this season. So he's gonna have not a lot of time on his hands to find his receivers, who are probably not going to be that open in that defense. And as well, San Fran's offense is pretty good with Debo playing both receiver and running back. And I think they're just going to have their way with the Falcons all day.
Well, not entirely a bold prediction there, but something we feel will happen. Of course, that's Matt Ryan. We predict below 15 points. Final one, another quarterback. We've had some different names here in these starts and sits. A lot of names that we haven't really mentioned this year too much, like Robbie Anderson, like Cooks, like Russell Wilson, even like Hubbard too, Boyd, Pitts. We didn't mention too much. We're mentioning a lot of new names here. Ryan Tannehill is our last sit versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a pretty solid pass rush when the team is healthy, and Tennessee has struggled, or at least Matt Ryan has struggled against a good defense when the
Ryan Tannehill, you mean?
Yes, Ryan Tannehill has struggled against the good defense this year. Like you look at New England, he didn't have a great game whatsoever against them, and I feel like the pass rush in Pittsburgh is kind of similar to that.
Team's just they haven't been the same since Derrick Henry, man.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, he's at 13, 9, and 16 in his last 3, so 2 of those are under the 15-point mark. We just feel like he's going to be sit this week, unfortunately. Tennessee, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender whatsoever. Definitely playoffs, but not Super Bowl.
I don't know how far they make it in the playoffs. I think, they're again, I'm hoping the Bills match up with them because I think the Bills match up so well with the Titans.
Great matchup for them. Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
But let's go on to the fantasy player of the week. Done with starts and sits. Hopefully we don't go 0 for 5 in any category.
Oh God, no.
Because I got to be honest with you, that's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. I was embarrassed to read that. And
yeah, it was not fun to read that.
Like it would be different if we've done that many times before. That's the first time we've done that. We've been pretty good in starts and sits this year.
We haven't been bad.
No. I got to go back and calculate. I'm going to go back and calculate how good we've been and what we're shooting, but that didn't help the average whatsoever. Let's just say that.
No.
The Loch, our fantasy player of the week, has had, this guy is the third highest fantasy point scorer this week. So we did not pick number 1 this time or number 2.
No.
Good. Who is it?
No. It is George Kittle.
Yes.
And oh my, was he an absolute monster against Cincy?
He's a beast.
It was a massive part in that game.
Yeah. We mentioned he had over 30 fantasy points. That's actually, I'll pull up the exact number right now. He had 34.10. The previous week had 39. And actually, I don't think he wasn't fantasy player of the week last week, although he certainly could have been.
He had 13 receptions for 151 yards and a receiving touchdown.
Yeah.
En route to, again, that 30-plus point performance. Just fantastic stuff from George Kittle. So congratulations, George Kittle. You are the fantasy player of the week from the Fantasy Cast.
The crazy part about that, actually, and I'm going to pull it up right here just to make sure. Yeah. Jimmy G had 296 passing yards that whole game, including overtime as well. And
so Kittle had over half. Kittle had over half of his. Oh my God.
That's nuts. He's just a beat. I love because my opinion, obviously I don't like Travis Kelce and the Chiefs that much.
Well, yeah,
so
obviously.
It's a bit biased, but I think I think George Kittle is the best tight end in the game if he's used properly. As of
right now, yes.
Yeah.
As of this current moment, yes. Before the season, no. After last season, no.
I just oh my God. Like if they were switched roles and Travis Kelce was on the 49ers, I think it would be a bit different. And
I think this is a bit of a, I'm kind of going against that a little bit. I feel like it'd be the same result.
You're more than welcome.
I feel like it'd be the same result with Kittle because I feel like Kittle is just a young Kelce.
I just feel like he's a more athletic Kelce, to be honest. I mean, the guy's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce, very athletic, but Kittle is like one of the most athletic players in the entire NFL. The guy's a total stud.
Yeah.
And he's just, I don't know, like he's a complete beast that just doesn't go down. I mean, he's amazing.
I feel like Kittle has more of that explosiveness and blocking aspect than Kelce.
Too, which is a huge part of being a tight end.
But what Kelsey's so good at on the blocking aspect, though, is releasing.
Yeah, great release. Kind of like a Kellen Winslow of like the 70s or the 80s, at least for the Chargers. One of the best tight ends of all time. Of course, I had to name drop a Charger. But he's more of that vertical threat, doesn't block as much. And Kellen Winslow wasn't great on blocking either. So both effective, but that's up for debate. That's a great debate. What's our fantasy question of the week here, Loch?
Any tips for winning the fantasy playoffs, winning the chip?
So glad that you asked.
Step 1, pray.
Yes. Step 2, wait. Yeah. That's a good start. Step 1 is praying. Definitely you want to pray. Okay, we'll say that step 1. Step 2, don't be afraid to start and sit players. What I mean by this is
be bold, basically.
Yes.
Go with your gut.
Be bold, baby.
No, because the playoffs are literally made for impulse decisions.
Yes. Like if you feel Jalen Guyton is gonna have a better game than like I don't know what's like Justin Jefferson for say, depending on matchups and stuff like that, then you make that decision. It's time to get ballsy.
You go for it.
Yeah.
Is Jay Jetta probably gonna put up 40 the game you sit him? Maybe.
Most likely, to be honest.
There's a good chance.
But yeah, the main thing there is looking at statistics, looking at matchups, and in the end, trusting your instincts. Step number 2.
I'd say also, like, if you have the ESPN, if you do fantasy on ESPN, try and read the outlooks that they provide.
Yeah.
But don't rely so heavily on them that's like waning in your choice. Yeah. Also the projections too.
Yes. Projections and doing a bit of your own research.
Yep.
So yeah, that for sure. Step number 3, because number 1 was praying, is be active on the waiver wire. And what I mean by this is following NFL news. As we saw last week, various players dropped on the COVID protocol list and the general health and safety list of the NFL. I believe it was the highest tally all year. I think 37 guys were out. You want to be that first person. You're always checking news. You have updates on 4 different apps, like bing, 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 bing when someone's out. You want to be prepared because you want to be that person who snipes the correct player if the time comes. We're looking at backup running backs, backup wide receivers, third strings that potentially come second strings or even first strings. So you want to be ready for that because anything can happen in these last weeks of NFL play. That's probably the biggest piece of advice we can give you, because depth is a huge problem at this point in the year. And number 3, interesting one, because we don't talk about it as much as we should. You have to invest in a defense and a kicker as well. You're not only planning for the game that you're hopefully going to win this week, but the upcoming games. You want to look at who's playing Houston next week. You want to look at, seriously, like matchups and teams like that.
Seriously, guys. And also, kickers are a big part of that too.
Yes.
Because kickers, it's not always about finding, like, this is the one thing in drafts that people always go, like Harrison Butker, always the first kicker to go.
Yeah.
Now, is he a good kicker? Absolutely. But
the Chiefs kick a lot of field goals.
The Chiefs kick a lot of extra points.
Yeah.
That's what the deceiving thing is. Last season, Younghoe Koo kicked an absurd amount of field goals and didn't miss.
Yeah.
But he was in a unique situation because the Falcons got down the field, but couldn't get into the end zone to save their life.
Yeah.
So who'd they bring out? Younghoe Koo, just knock it through the uprights. So it's about finding guys who play for teams who aren't necessarily the best, but can get into field goal position.
Yeah, like I'd highly recommend like a Matt Gay, someone like the
Daniel
Rams.
Daniel Carlson too, if he's available.
I was honestly thinking of putting him as a start, but I didn't do kickers all year, so I don't want to start necessarily now. But Carlson, you also have Nick Folk of the Patriots. He's been great. So he was actually one of my kickers. So definitely, because like these are something that you might overlook and you want to plan for the future. You want to look at matchups and stuff like that. So I'm saying if there's someone playing Houston, you want to pick up 2 defenses and even shorten your roster length on your bench to be able to afford another defense. But these are potential fantasy winners right here. These are make or breaks. It comes
seriously, guys, because if your kicker and D in special teams combine for 30 points, that's huge.
Not just that, they could also combine for 2 points, 3 points together, and that's 2 spots on your roster. So you have to play that carefully. Like you said, also pray. Great advice. And number 5, be humble. Don't be a how do I put this nicely? Don't be something in the crotchal area of men to your fellow fantasy opponents. Don't trash.
Don't be an idiot. Don't be an idiot.
Good point. Don't be an idiot. Be respectful if you win. Shake their hand. Move on to the next game. You want that championship.
Trash talking in fantasy football. I mean, I don't know how many of you believe in karma or whatnot, but it's very real sometimes, and it can really come back to bite you in the behind.
It can. Stay humble.
So but I'd say the biggest things are matchups with any player, especially defenses.
Yes.
And depth this time of the year is so key.
It is the key point. And that's what I'm saying. Like, got to stock up depth on defenses and kickers. Definitely. Usually one kicker's okay, but defenses especially will help make your big fantasy season.
If you're looking a couple weeks into advance, no one else, I guarantee you, maybe one other guy is looking at next week's defense performance.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's pretty much our advice for winning fantasy playoffs. Best of luck to all of you, because I know some people are just entering the playoffs. Some people are midway through. Best of luck to all of you guys on behalf of the Fantasy Cast. This concludes episode 15. Wow. 15.
Yeah, 15. We're getting close to the end of the regular season. It's kind of sad.
It is kind of sad. Exciting, though, because in the coming weeks, we're going to announce our plans for like playoffs and stuff like that on behalf of this on this show /podcast. We also want to mention too that next episode is going to be our last before Christmas break. At least we're going to be taking a short break. I know Lachlan's going to be back maybe an episode earlier before me, but definitely taking a short break here on the Fantasy Cast. And yeah, it's the holiday season, baby. Something to smile. There's Saturday. The NFL always does this. There's some Saturday games this week.
Dude, awesome.
Pretty exciting. Usually you don't see many Saturday games in a year. Always comes around December. Should we see the Thursday night game? I don't even know who's playing on this Thursday.
Oh, it's the Chiefs and Chargers, you idiot.
I'm such an idiot. I always say that because I never know who it is.
You didn't even know your own team was playing, dude. Oh my God.
Chiefs and that totally slipped my mind. Chiefs and Chargers. Yes. I meant more of like who the heck is playing on Saturday, because ain't nobody knows who's playing on Saturday. I think there's like one game at 1:30. I read.
We barely know the schedule right now, man. Like
it's okay. There you go. 4:30 and 8:15. Raiders and Browns, Patriots and Colts. Wow, those are good games.
Oh, that the Pats and Colts game could be a good one, because the Colts could knock off the Pats. That would be incredibly clutch.
I'd love to see that. Colts are very good right now. And then the Sunday nighter.
Sorry, just who thought the Colts were going to be good down the stretch? Oh, that's right, we did.
I think we mentioned it on the Fantasy Cast here. We got to go back and collect all the clips that we predicted stuff.
How are you?
We predicted Cordero Patterson was going to be good too. I mean, that was one of our earliest clips on Instagram. And actually, you said that, Lachlan.
Yeah.
You predicted, like, after 1 week of him being good, it's like, this is going to be a consistent thing. And it was. Saints, Bucks, Sunday Night Football, Vikings, Bears, Monday Night Football. That's all we got.
Bears with back-to-back primetime games, even though they're terrible.
I hate it. The Saints get way too many primetime games. The Bears get way too many. They got to fix it.
Well, I think the Saints, we're coming into the new era of New Orleans Saint football, the post Drew Brees era.
Yep.
And I think that'll calm down. The other thing is though, like they have a couple marquee names, like household NFL
no, for sure. And it's a huge
so
market. It's a huge market as well. So you have to consider that. But no, the NFL fans, especially this point, are starting to get pissed. But yeah.
Like how many times do the Saints have to get slapped in prime time for the NFL to say, you know what, we should maybe I got to rethink this.
You don't maybe throw the Colts a couple more games. I mean, maybe throw the Bills a couple more games, make it more interesting. But yeah.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see, because we are obviously not NFL schedulers. So
that's true.
Anyway, that's enough banter from us. We'll release you from this, because we know. Yeah.
It's not for bad.
It's enough. Episode 15, guys. Thank you so much for the support. If you have any other questions or concerns about fantasy playoffs, because it's crunch time, man. It's crunch time.
Time to win.
If you do the 2-week rounds like our league did, best of luck in the semifinals going forward. And if you're playing in the toilet bowl, the winner's consolation, or even like the loser's bracket, don't finish last. And if you got knocked out this past week, it's okay, because you can't finish last. So you're not going to get punished.
Congratulations. And yeah, that's actually a good point. Just one more thing before we end off. You don't want to come last and do that 24 hours in Denny's or Waffle House challenge. You want to avoid that at all costs.
There's some bad ones.
Best of luck to all of you guys.
Yeah, seriously. That concludes episode number 15 of the Fantasy Cast. He is Ty White. I'm Lachlan McTagg. Have a great week, guys. We will see you guys next week. Enjoy some Saturday football too. Peace out, guys.